And we essentially all agreed that Jefferson PD was best positioned to end up being the long-term operator manager of the network. So what's our relationship with NOANET and the BTOP project? Well, because we had so many other things going on, we had to give authority to NOANET to manage the project. We signed letters of authorization to have both Matt Henson, Mike Henson, Chris Walker all act on our behalf in developing the pole attachment agreement with the PSC and do much of that work. NOANET will ultimately end up operating and maintaining the network for 5 years. We're still working on that agreement, but it is pending. And we're also going to work on a short and long-term business plan. And NOANET is going to help us market the services locally to customers in the anchor institutions. So what's Jefferson PD do? Well, we're sort of on the hook. I keep trying to tell my board, you are going to be owners of this network. We are on the hook to basically make those services work through the operational lifetime of that infrastructure. So we've had to sign a lot of contracts for all the work that's being done. I'll get invoices and push them to NOANET for quick reimbursement. That's been pretty good. We also help facilitate the project, do some public relations work, deal with pole attachment issues. Now that we're owner, things are a whole lot easier. And a little bit of oversight. Yeah, thank you very much. Boy, it's a big deal. We'll talk about that too. We're going to lean pretty heavily on NOANET in future years and adjacent members. Kitsap's been outstanding. You guys have been real helpful. Helped us with the pole attachment agreement that we didn't ultimately need, but that work was valued. I got to pull a Ruby out here. Our situation is very similar, but not identical to Benton. Benton obviously built out their own infrastructure, but NOANET now operates it. One of the first O&M agreements that we looked at was the model with Benton County. Stevens PUD is very close too. Stevens is going to end up owning the network. NOANET's going to operate. They didn't get it. Did they get it through VTOP grant?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but they're not members. So that's pretty much the only significant distinction. They're not electric. So who's going to connect? Well, it's my understanding that Jefferson has more anchor institutions than any of the other NOANET VTOP projects. It's essentially every local, state, federal, governmental, educational, health, public safety entity was considered as a candidate by the local broadband group that came together with NOANET to pool all those various entities and get them on the list. We had 3 tiers of anchor institutions initially. Go ahead, John. The first one was the one that was committed to the grant. We were committed to get those anchor institutions hooked up. It was 54 anchors. Tier 2 is kind of a follow-up, a wish list. You notice the dates. The Tier 3 list was a big meeting where we met to discuss all sort of a broad community wish list that got culled out. A lot of Tier 2 is going to end up getting hooked up, but not all. But again, Tier 1 is what we're obligated to. Those PUD locations, by the way, are substations, some of which won't get hooked up. But anyhow, this is how it was originally conceived. You notice there's a loop here. Locally, some of the folks called this actually a dragon. It's call it no quicklos. If you look at a map, it looks like it has arms going out. So it's the dragon, it's the lying down dragon. North is this way if you haven't figured it out yet. So here's the loop I was talking about. Basically starts at intersection of 104 and Oak Bay Road, then goes up through Port Ludlow into Port Hadlock. There was a line proposed to go out to Marystone Island and serve Fort Flagler, and then another line that comes up Highway 20. And here's the close-up. Thank you. It's a lot easier to see. You saw that coming, didn't you? I did. So there were some wireless locations here proposed. Don't really show up great on the project proposal map, but there it is in its original conception. So, wireless project was awarded to Mobilisa, IC Mobilisa. They actually are in Port Townsend itself. They're a company famous for ID cards, intelligence ID cards. They got huge contracts with the government. They're actually a fairly well-established company. It's a point-to-point, multi-point radio network. There's 20 locations in the grant. This also serves anchor institutions in the Brennan and Quilcene area, which is the southeast portion of Jefferson County. And this wireless network will offer opportunities for new ISPs to come in and provide last mile solution. We're not, as a part of this project, proposing a last mile solution. We're hoping for somebody to come in and provide that. So it's a little dark. Again, you can see the dragon. I'm not going to get on the dragon thing. Maynard Peak, anybody familiar with the Port Townsend area, you can, this is like the coveted radio location in the area. Shoot down to radio locations in various locations in the south part of the county. Dosey is a divide line between the Duckabush and Dosey-Wallops basins, and that points down into the Brennan area. So these are slides that IC Mobile gave us. Here is the tower farm up on top of Maynard Peak. Like I said, it is the most local coveted location, at least in East Jefferson County, for radio shots. It looks like a MASH unit. They're installing a radio antenna. They've been installing at some of the anchor institutions. They're setting up their knock. That looks like a real sophisticated knock there. Is that a rack? I got this guy just because he looks so earnest. Gotta have an earnest person in all your presentations. And here they are. It looks like they're going to install some microwave unit in a very cold day. We don't get a lot of snow. So to the fiber project, it was awarded to Pilchuck Construction. Contract signed after April 1 for reasons that become obvious. Budget 2.8, construction began April 8th. Why so late start? Well, we have many challenges in Jefferson County. We have a complex coastal geography, and we have a complex cultural landscape as well. It includes both native cultures. Now we have to do, of course, archaeological analysis and essentially all major and even minor projects. And you have the culture of, please go away, not in my backyard, can't get it done here, sorry. It's been, Jefferson County's had we have many challenges getting projects done. We had some infighting over a business plan. There was no distinct business plan at the time. That caused a lot of angst with the city. Nature known that pricing was questioned. There was all kinds of inquiries made into, I think, Don's office. There were a lot of administrative fees were expended before we even got the wheels on the ground. And of course, whole make-ready issues with PSE prior to April 1 were kind of silly. Go ahead, Angel. About mid-February, PSE stopped responding to Ninja's tickets. Those are the National Joint Use. Help me, Steve.
It's not Ninja what you're thinking.
Yeah.
It's not the
National Joint, well, basically it's a ticketing system where the ISPs and telcos make requests for make-ready work on poles as a way of tracking it. Well, they were saying things mid-February, like there'd be comments. It was really great working with you folks. Have a nice life kind of thing. They literally signed out by mid-February. NOANET had approached us to escalate it, this need for the make-ready work to be done, to upper administrative people at PSE, because we did kind of have a fairly good relationship. But at that point, we had had such poor luck getting movement from PSE that we just sort of threw up our hands and said, hey, listen, we got a project going on out in the Coyle Peninsula. We're going to make them a docking crew. So come April 1, we're going to have our own crews and a crew with another company come in and help you out and make ready work. And Kevin Street, bless his heart, our electric super has been terrific. He's been very responsive in getting make ready done and being flexible, most importantly, in understanding that we've got a real tight timeline to get the project done. So Kevin's just been terrific and is probably like night and day dealing with PSE, quite frankly. So again, we have crews ready to go. PSE charged us $22,000 just to look at the poles.
That's it?
Yeah, I know. I was kind of surprised too, because Kevin said it was $2,000 to look at a pole, or $1,000 to look at a pole. They charged us pole rental fees before anything got up on their poles. That's my favorite little pile of stuff on my desk. I like putting that stuff out. So that's allowed us to deal with some site-specific issues. Obviously, we could be responsive with some complicated make-ready, but we had a bit of a mess on Oak Bay Road going into Port Hadlock. They did a long directional bore, and they hit like this cobble section, and it wiped out the drill bits or the bits on the directional bore. They had to do horizontal drilling, and it caused like $15,000 worth of bits to go kablooey. So really the only alternative left was overhead. Well, PSE has poles that are in the DOT clear zone. They initially said, we don't want additional attachments on these poles. But we've worked with them. It looks like they're going to give us a variance. And now we've kind of asked we've actually got lashed fiber at that location. We'd like to go ADSS so we can take up some slack and then move the poles and then pull that fiber back onto the new poles. And that request is in the works. So one thing that we've done, we did a couple of things that were sort of trying to spread the goodwill with the public. And one was we did consent for easement with people along the route. We got a really good response. PSE never did anything like that. It was basically if they came through, nobody knew they were coming or going. So we did that, and then we did postcards, and we did postcards based upon where the people lived, And it was it was one of those things that it did kind of confuse folks, because we talked about the fact that the PUD is not going to provide internet service. You need to contact your ISPs. They still contacted me. When can I hook up to your service? CenturyLink is terrible out here. I had to answer a lot of calls like that, but we still think it was a good idea. Right. So we've got fiber from Port Ludlow to Flagler Road. Those are actually the terminations, I think, above ground terminations. That fiber's been pulled. You can see it. There's actual stuff that we've done that is visible. It's terrific. Current activity as of yesterday. I went out and took a lot of pictures, kind of late in the day actually. This is along Ness's Corner. It looks like they're pulling conduit. I've got, like I said, I got lots of pictures of conduit coming up. That's going to provide sort of service to the county library. It's one of the principal anchors there. More conduit in town. That's the San Juan run where there was nothing to photograph because they came in and they did the job. This is kind of an interesting little triple point. You can't see it here, but this says CenturyLink. That's their CO. And this is all within the same spot. This is the Port Townsend Fire Station, very nice building, right across the street. Can't really see it here, but the conduit's right across the street. And you turn around, and there's the beautiful Carnegie Library at Port Townsend. So, lots of anchor institutions getting ready to hook up. This is in Port Hadlock. This is kind of a complicated setup where we get conduit to the sheriff's office, then they have conduit to the jail, and Jeffcom's in the jail office. Again, Jeffcom, they own and operate this radio tower that's going to be part of the network. We actually have PUDs, our PUD servers are in the sheriff's office. We have a cooperative agreement with Jefferson County for them to provide our IT services. That's how we basically populated our IT department. We did it by paying for one staff member for Jefferson IT services, and we would get the benefit of their lowest level IT professional all the way up to their network engineers. So we basically bought into an IT department. And it's worked out so far. So if you remember that loop that I mentioned earlier, it's gone. We kind of ran out of money because of some of the issues that I mentioned previously. Some of the poles too had some issues within there. Apologize for the quality of the diagram here, but here's Beaver Valley. Well, as it turns out, there's a substation in there. So we have interest ourselves in supplying fiber to that location. And it's a relatively short run from the end here to the substation. I think it's about a mile and a half. As it turns out, it's the one substation where somebody's got to go out there and flip a switch like every freaking day. So it's the one that we actually needed some controls on. And now we're getting temporarily going to get a DSL circuit with the CenturyLink, which has just horrible, horrible service out there. Totally oversubscribed, but they say that they could service, and it's SCADA. We think they can. So it's on our list of things to do. So we like to think of the benefits of how this network is going to be good for our community. From an operational standpoint, you're going to have a new backhaul route off the Northeast Olympic Peninsula. It should be attractive to other service providers. That's a good deal. There's an opportunity to generate additional competition and improved telecom to local residents, not just businesses, but residences as well. As a side note, we all know there was the CenturyLink, or excuse me, the CenturyTel Quest merger. Now CenturyLink, they typically go in and upgrade their services, right, to rebrand themselves and all that whatnot. They're being very aggressive in East Jefferson County. Wave, which was formerly Millennium, which was formerly, or no, the other way around. Millennium, then Broadstripe, and then now they're Wave. Also coming in, rebranding themselves, and definitely have improved level of service in East Jefferson County. And now they're very aggressive, competing for some of our anchor institutions. And again, this fiber optic infrastructure for us creates a bare backbone for a SCADA network. We can start from the ground up. So, next steps for us, we want to, obviously, the project needs to complete, and we need to sign the VTUC covenant. Get that done so that we're certified owners in the eyes of the feds. We need to foster contracts with anchor institutions, with NOANET. Time for some hand-holding locally. We're going to need some help. Again, we're going to need to develop the business plan. We still need to answer questions such as who pays for the line extensions and other related issues, and then finalize that O&M agreement. So this is my favorite conduit couplet image. That's going into our building. So that's my favorite. Any questions?
Good job.
Good job.
Thanks.